Emma Carter had always dreamed of this day. Her entire life seemed to lead up to this moment, a perfect union between two souls deeply in love. She stood before the mirror in her childhood bedroom, adjusting the veil that framed her face like a halo. Her reflection smiled back at her, eyes sparkling with excitement and just a hint of nervousness. Today was the beginning of everything she had ever hoped for. Downstairs, guests were arriving one by one, filling the small-town church with laughter and chatter. Friends hugged each other tightly, catching up after years apart. Family members exchanged stories about how far Emma and Daniel had come since they first met. It wasn't love at first sight, at least not for Emma. But once she got to know Daniel Hayes, his quiet charm and unwavering kindness won her heart completely. The ceremony began as the late afternoon sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, painting colorful patterns on the wooden floor. When Emma walked down the aisle, escorted by her father, there was a collective gasp from the congregation. Her gown shimmered softly, and her smile radiated pure happiness. Daniel, standing, tall but visibly emotional, couldn't take his eyes off her. As they exchanged vows, their voices trembled slightly, filled with emotion. Every word felt like a promise etched into eternity. Afterward, the reception took place outdoors beneath strings of twinkling fairy lights. Tables draped in crisp white. Cloths lined the area, adorned with bouquets of wildflowers. Music played softly in the background while people danced, ate, and laughed together. Speeches poured out heartfelt tributes to the couple's relationship, how they balanced each other perfectly, how Emma brought light into Daniel's life, and how Daniel gave Emma the stability she craved. As the evening wore on, the celebration grew livelier. Children chased fireflies across the grass, and couples swayed slowly to romantic songs. Emma and Daniel shared their first dance as husband and wife, moving gracefully under the starry sky. Their friends cheered them on, clapping rhythmically until the music faded away. For a brief moment, it felt like time stood still. Everything was exactly as it should be. Eventually, the festivities wound down, and Emma and Daniel prepared to leave for their secluded cabin nestled deep in the woods. Hand in hand, they stepped into the car amid cheers and thrown flower petals. The drive was peaceful, the road winding through dense forests illuminated only by the headlights. Neither spoke much. They didn't need to. The warmth of the day lingered between them, wrapping them in contentment. When they arrived at the cabin, it was even more enchanting than they remembered. Built entirely of wood, it blended seamlessly with its surroundings. A stone fireplace dominated the cozy living room, and candles flickered gently on every surface, casting a soft glow throughout the space. Outside, the sound of crickets chirping filled the air, accompanied by the occasional rustle of leaves in the wind. They unpacked quickly, eager to settle in for the night. Emma changed into a comfortable robe, letting her hair fall loose around her shoulders. She joined Daniel by the fireplace where he was stoking the flames. He turned to look at her, his expression tender. "Are you happy?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "More than I ever thought possible," she replied, leaning against him. They sat like that for a while, simply enjoying the quiet companionship. But then Emma shivered, despite the warmth of the fire. "I think I'll go to bed," she said softly. "It's been a long day." Daniel nodded and followed her upstairs. The bedroom was small but inviting, with a large window overlooking the forest. Moonlight spilled onto the bed, making the pale sheets gleam faintly. Emma climbed beneath the covers, sighing contentedly. Daniel joined her moments later, pulling her close. For a while, they whispered to each other, sharing dreams for the future. Then, unexpectedly, Emma grew silent. Daniel glanced at her, concerned. Her eyes were wide open, staring past him as if seeing something he couldn't. "Emma?" he murmured, shaking her gently. "What's wrong?" Her lips parted, and she whispered something so faintly that Daniel strained to hear it. "Find me," she breathed, before her body went limp in his arms. Panic surged through him. "Emma! Emma!" he shouted, shaking her harder now. But she didn't respond. Her skin was cold, her pulse non-existent. Frantically, he dialed emergency services, explaining what had happened. Within minutes, paramedics arrived, rushing Emma into an ambulance. Daniel rode alongside her, clutching her hand desperately, praying for a miracle. At the hospital, doctors worked tirelessly to revive her, but it was no use. After hours of effort, they delivered the devastating news. Emma had passed away. The cause was unclear. Her heart had simply stopped without warning. Daniel collapsed into a chair, numb with grief. How could this happen? One moment she was alive and radiant, and the next, gone. But the shock didn't end there. During the examination, one of the doctors discovered something strange embedded in Emma's chest, a metallic object glowing faintly with an eerie blue light. It looked unnatural, almost alien. No one could explain how it got there or what it was doing inside her body. All they knew was that it defied logic, and perhaps reality itself. Word spread quickly among the medical staff, drawing whispers of disbelief and fear. Daniel demanded answers, refusing to let them dismiss Emma's death as unexplainable. He insisted on taking custody of the mysterious device, determined to uncover the truth behind her sudden passing. What he didn't realize yet was that this discovery would lead him down a path far stranger and far more dangerous than anything he could have imagined. That night, alone in the sterile hospital room, Daniel held the glowing object in trembling hands. Its light pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Staring at it, he felt a mix of anger, sorrow, and confusion. Who, or what, had done this to Emma? And why? Whatever the answers were, one thing became clear. Emma's death was only the beginning of a much larger mystery. Daniel couldn't bring himself to leave the hospital that night. He sat alone in the cold, sterile room where Emma had been pronounced dead, staring at the strange device clutched in his hands. It was small enough to fit in his palm, yet it radiated an energy that made his skin tingle. Its surface was smooth and metallic, etched with patterns that seemed to shift when he looked at them too long. Every few seconds, the faint blue glow pulsed like a heartbeat, as if the thing were alive. He didn't know what to do with it. All he knew was that this object, whatever it was, had something to do with Emma's death. It wasn't human-made. That much was obvious. Who could have put it inside her? And why hadn't she said anything about it? Questions swirled in his mind, each one more unsettling than the last. By morning, Daniel had made up his mind. He needed answers, no matter how hard they were to find. He called Alex Morgan, his childhood best friend and someone who always had a knack for solving problems. When Alex arrived at the hospital, Daniel showed him the device. At first, Alex thought it was some kind of prank or trick, but when he touched it, he felt the same strange energy Daniel described. "This isn't normal," Alex muttered, frowning. "We need to take this to someone who knows what they're doing." They decided to seek out Dr. Patricia Lane, a reclusive scientist known for studying unexplained phenomena. Patricia lived on the outskirts of town in a modest house surrounded by overgrown trees. She rarely took visitors, preferring to spend her days buried in research. But Daniel and Alex didn't have time to worry about whether she'd agree to help them. They knocked on her door anyway. Patricia answered cautiously, peering through the crack before letting them in. Her home doubled as her lab, cluttered with books, microscopes, and half-finished experiments. When Daniel explained what had happened and handed her the device, her eyes widened with both curiosity and unease. "Where did you get this?" she asked, turning it over in her hands. "It was inside my wife," Daniel said bluntly. "She died last night, and this thing was embedded in her chest. We don't know what it is or how it got there." Patricia studied the device closely, her brow furrowing. After several minutes, she set it down carefully on her workbench. "This isn't Earth technology," she said finally. "It's alien." The word hit Daniel like a punch to the gut. Alien? Was she serious? He glanced at Alex, who looked equally stunned. "Are you saying aliens did this to her?" Daniel stammered. "I'm not saying anything definitive yet," Patricia replied. "But based on the materials and design, This object originates from somewhere beyond our planet. I've seen similar artifacts before, though none quite like this. She paused, then added, "If you want answers, we'll need to study it further." Over the next few days, Patricia worked tirelessly to analyze the device. She hooked it up to various machines, running tests to understand its composition and function. Meanwhile, Daniel and Alex stayed nearby, helping however they could. They cleaned tools, organized notes, and kept watch while Patricia focused on unraveling the mystery. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Patricia finally made a breakthrough. "It's a memory storage unit," she announced, pointing to the readings on her computer screen. "But it's far more advanced than anything humans have created. This device can hold vast amounts of information, not just facts or images, but entire memories, emotions, even consciousness." Daniel's heart raced. "You mean Emma's memories?" "Possibly," Patricia said cautiously. "But accessing that information won't be easy. If we activate it incorrectly, we risk damaging the data, or worse, triggering something dangerous." Despite the risks, Daniel insisted they try. He couldn't bear the thought of giving up now, not when they were so close to understanding what had happened to Emma. Reluctantly, Patricia agreed. With Alex holding a flashlight and Daniel watching anxiously, she connected the device to a custom-built interface designed to decode its signals. At first, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, the room was flooded with light as holographic projections appeared around them. Images flickered into existence, showing scenes from Emma's life. Her childhood playing in the backyard, her college graduation, her first meeting with Daniel. Each memory played out vividly, almost as if they were reliving those moments. But then the images shifted. Instead of familiar places and people, they saw Emma interacting with shadowy figures in strange environments. There were landscapes unlike anything on Earth, towering crystalline structures, skies filled with multiple suns, and creatures that defied description. In one particularly haunting sequence, Emma stood in front of a massive portal, tears streaming down her face as she spoke to someone unseen. "I'll do whatever it takes," she said, her voice trembling. "Just promise me it will save them." The holograms faded, leaving the room silent except for the hum of the machines. Daniel sank into a chair, overwhelmed by what he'd just witnessed. "What was all that?" he whispered. "Who were those people? Where was she?" Patricia removed, her glasses rubbing her temples. "I don't know exactly," she admitted, "but it seems Emma was involved in something far bigger than any of us realized. These aren't random memories, they're clues. She must have known something important, something worth risking everything for." Alex crossed his arms, deep in thought. "If these are clues, then we need to follow them. Maybe they'll lead us to answers about what really happened to her." Patricia nodded slowly. "There's one phrase that keeps repeating in the data stream," she said, pointing to a line of text on her monitor. "Find me at the edge." "The edge of what?" Daniel asked, his voice tinged with frustration. "That's what we need to figure out," Patricia replied. "Whatever it means, it's clearly significant. If we can decipher it, we might be able to uncover the truth. Not just about Emma's death, but about this device and its purpose." For the first time since Emma's passing, Daniel felt a glimmer of hope. Though the road ahead was uncertain, he knew he couldn't give up. Not now. Not when Emma's voice still echoed in his mind, urging him to find her. Over the next few days, the trio pored over every detail they could extract from the device. Patricia mapped out the locations shown in the holograms, searching for patterns or connections. Alex scoured old records and news articles, looking for anything related to alien activity or unexplained phenomena. And Daniel revisited memories of his time with Emma, trying to piece together anything she might have hinted at without realizing it. Their efforts led them to a surprising discovery. Emma had volunteered at an abandoned observatory on the outskirts of town during her college years. According to local rumors, the facility had been shut down decades ago after mysterious circumstances surrounding its closure. No one knew exactly what had happened there, but whispers of secret experiments and government interference persisted. Could this be the edge Emma referred to? It was impossible to say for sure, but it was the only lead they had. Determined to see it through, Daniel, Alex, and Patricia packed their things and headed toward the observatory, ready to confront whatever awaited them. As they drove deeper into the countryside, the landscape grew wilder, the roads narrower. The observatory loomed ahead, its dome-shaped structure silhouetted against the darkening sky. A sense of foreboding settled over them, but they pressed on, knowing they had no choice. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the walls were lined with rusted equipment. But among the decay, they found evidence of recent activity, fresh footprints, discarded tools, and cryptic symbols scrawled on the walls. It became clear that the observatory hadn't been entirely abandoned after all. In a hidden chamber beneath the main building, they uncovered files detailing classified experiments involving alien artifacts. One document mentioned a project codenamed Elysium, aimed at harnessing extraterrestrial technology for human use. According to the notes, Emma had unknowingly become entangled in this project, her body used as a test subject for integrating alien devices with human biology. The revelation left Daniel reeling. His sweet, innocent Emma had been part of something so dangerous, so secretive, that even she may not have fully understood the risks. Yet amidst the horror, one fact stood out. The device inside her wasn't meant to harm. It was designed to transfer her consciousness into another realm. Patricia explained that such technology could theoretically allow a person's mind to exist independently of their physical body, entering dimensions beyond human comprehension. If successful, it would revolutionize humanity's understanding of life and death. But failure carried grave consequences, including the loss of one's soul, or worse. Armed with this knowledge, the group faced a difficult decision. Should they attempt to access the realm where Emma's consciousness might still reside? Doing so would require unlocking the full potential of the device, a process fraught with danger. If they succeeded, they might reunite with Emma, but if they failed, they risked losing themselves forever. Daniel didn't hesitate. "We have to try," he said firmly. "I can't let her go without knowing for sure." Alex and Patricia exchanged uneasy glances but ultimately agreed. Together they prepared to take the next step, venturing into the unknown in search of the woman who had left behind so many unanswered questions. The hidden chamber beneath the observatory felt like stepping into another world. The air was cool and carried a faint metallic tang, while the walls shimmered with glowing symbols that pulsed rhythmically, almost as if alive. In the center of the room stood a massive metallic structure, a portal frame etched with designs similar to those on the device they had brought with them. It hummed softly, radiating a strange energy that made the hairs on their arms stand up. Patricia was the first to approach it, her eyes wide behind her glasses. She ran her fingers over the surface, tracing the intricate patterns. "This isn't just a machine," she murmured. "It's a gateway, an interface between dimensions." Her voice trembled slightly, torn between awe and fear. If Emma's consciousness was transferred somewhere, this could be how we reach her. Daniel stepped closer, his heart pounding. He didn't fully understand what Patricia meant, but he trusted her enough to believe she knew what she was talking about. "So, we can use this thing to find her?" he asked, his voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside him. "In theory, yes," Patricia replied cautiously. "But activating it won't be easy. We'll need to synchronize the device you found with the portal systems. That means figuring out how to decode both sets of alien tech, and even then there's no guarantee it will work." Alex frowned, shining his flashlight around the chamber. "And let's not forget the risks," he added. "We don't know what's waiting on the other side, or if we'll even come back once we go through." Daniel clenched his fists. "I don't care about the risks," he said firmly. "I have to try. I can't just leave her there alone." Patricia nodded slowly, understanding the depth of his determination. "All right," she said. "But we'll need to move carefully. One wrong step could mean disaster, not just for us, but possibly for everyone." Over the next several hours, the trio worked tirelessly to prepare the portal. Patricia used her tablet to analyze the alien symbols, cross-referencing them with data from the memory device. Meanwhile, Alex scavenged parts from the abandoned equipment in the observatory, piecing together tools they could use to stabilize the portal's power source. Daniel helped where he could, though much of the technical work was beyond him. Instead, he focused on keeping watch, making sure nothing unexpected happened while the others concentrated. As they worked, fragments of Emma's memories continued to play in Daniel's mind, her laughter, her smile, the way she looked at him on their wedding day. Each recollection fueled his resolve. He couldn't fail her now, not when they were so close to finding answers. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Patricia announced they were ready. "I've synchronized the device with the portal," she explained, holding up the glowing object. "When we activate it, it should generate a stable connection to wherever Emma's consciousness resides. But remember, this is uncharted territory. We don't know what we're walking into." Daniel took a deep breath, steeling himself. "Let's do it," he said. Patricia inserted the device into a slot on the portal frame, and immediately, the room began to change. The glowing symbols on the walls brightened, casting eerie shadows across the floor. A low hum filled the air, growing louder until it seemed to resonate in their bones. Then, with a sudden flash of light, the portal sprang to life, swirling, with colors unlike anything they'd ever seen. Deep blues, fiery oranges, and shimmering purples blending together in a mesmerizing vortex. For a moment, they simply stared at it, awestruck. "This is it," Alex said quietly. "The edge." Without hesitation, Daniel stepped forward, reaching out toward the portal. Patricia grabbed his arm. "Wait," she exclaimed. "We need to set boundaries. If something goes wrong, we stick together. No one acts alone." Daniel nodded reluctantly. "Fine. Let's go." One by one, they stepped through the portal. The sensation was indescribable, like being pulled apart and reassembled all at once. Colors blurred around them, and time seemed to stretch and compress simultaneously. When they emerged on the other side, they found themselves in a surreal landscape unlike anything they'd imagined. The ground beneath their feet shimmered like liquid glass, reflecting the strange sky above. Multiple suns hung in the heavens, casting overlapping shadows that danced unpredictably. Towering crystalline structures stretched endlessly in every direction, their surfaces refracting light into dazzling patterns. Everything was beautiful, but also unsettlingly alien. "Where are we?" Alex whispered, his voice barely audible. "I don't know," Patricia admitted, clutching her tablet tightly. "But whatever this place is, it exists outside our normal understanding of reality." As they ventured further, they encountered versions of Emma, not just one, but many. Some appeared younger, others older, each representing a different facet of her personality or timeline. They moved like ghosts, translucent, yet unmistakably real. One version approached them, her expression sad but gentle. "You shouldn't have come here," she said softly. Daniel reached out to her, tears streaming down his face. "Emma, is it really you?" "It's part of me," she replied. "But I'm not whole anymore. My consciousness fractured when I crossed over. This place, it's neither life nor death, it's something else." Patricia studied the fragmented forms of Emma, her scientific curiosity battling with her empathy. "Is there a way to reunite these pieces?" she asked. "To bring you back?" Emma shook her head. "Not completely. I chose this path to protect you, to stop something terrible from happening, but the process went wrong, trapping me here instead of letting me move on." "What were you protecting us from?" Daniel demanded, his voice cracking with emotion. Before Emma could answer, the ground beneath them began to tremble. Shadows darker than night coalesced into menacing shapes, circling them menacingly. These weren't just random entities. They were guardians of this realm, remnants of ancient alien intelligences tasked with maintaining order. "They don't want you here," Emma warned urgently. You have to leave before it's too late. But, we can't leave without you, Daniel shouted, refusing to budge. You already have me, Emma countered, her voice filled with sorrow. In your memories, in your love. That's enough. Please, trust me. The Guardians closed in, their forms shifting and twisting unnaturally. Alex stepped forward, positioning himself between the group and the encroaching threat. Go, he yelled. I'll hold them off. No, Daniel protested, but Alex pushed him toward the portal, which still shimmered faintly in the distance. There's no time to argue, Alex snapped. Get her out of here. Reluctantly, Daniel and Patricia obeyed, sprinting toward the portal as Alex faced the Guardians alone. Behind them, they heard the sounds of struggle, the clash of light against darkness, as Alex fought to buy them time. Reaching the portal, Patricia activated the device again, reopening the connection to their world. As they stepped through, Daniel turned back one last time, catching a glimpse of Alex standing tall amidst the chaos, a defiant look on his face. Then the portal collapsed, severing the link. Back in the observatory chamber, Daniel collapsed too, his knees overwhelmed by grief and guilt. Alex had sacrificed himself to save them, and Emma remained trapped in that strange limbo between worlds. Yet despite everything, a glimmer of hope remained. Emma's fragmented selves had given them crucial information. She wasn't truly gone. Her essence lingered, waiting for someone brave enough to piece her back together. Patricia knelt beside Daniel, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. We'll honor Alex's sacrifice, she said firmly, and we'll keep fighting. For Emma, for him, and for everyone who deserves the truth. Though the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, Daniel knew they couldn't give up. Not now. Not when Emma's voice still echoed in his mind, urging him to keep going. Together, they would find a way to reunite her fractured soul and uncover the secrets of the alien technology that had changed their lives forever. The journey through the portal had changed everything. Daniel, Patricia, and Alex's sacrifice weighed heavily on their minds as they returned to the observatory chamber. Though they were physically back in their world, part of them remained, trapped in the surreal realm they had just left behind. For Daniel, the weight of loss was unbearable. First Emma, now Alex. But he refused to let despair consume him. He clung to the fragments of hope Emma had given them, determined to piece her back together no matter the cost. Patricia poured herself into studying the data they had gathered during their brief time in the alien dimension. She replayed recordings of Emma's fragmented selves, analyzing every word and gesture for clues about how to reunite her consciousness. The task was daunting. Emma's essence wasn't just scattered, it was intertwined with the very fabric of the alien realm itself. To bring her back would require merging all those fragments into a single cohesive entity, a process that seemed impossible without endangering everyone involved. We need to recreate the conditions of the portal, Patricia explained one evening, as she worked tirelessly at her makeshift lab inside the observatory. But this time, we'll anchor it specifically to Emma's frequency. If we can isolate her signal, we might be able to pull her fully into our reality. Daniel sat nearby, listening intently but feeling helpless. He wanted to contribute more, but his lack of technical expertise left him sidelined. Instead, he focused on supporting Patricia however he could, fetching tools, organizing notes, and keeping watch over the equipment. It was exhausting work, both physically and emotionally, but he couldn't imagine doing anything else. As days turned into weeks, Patricia made slow but steady progress. Using the alien device as a guide, she built a new interface capable of amplifying its power. The portal frame in the underground chamber became the centerpiece of their efforts, humming softly as Patricia calibrated its systems. Each adjustment brought them closer to attempting another crossing, but also increased the risks. They knew the guardians of the alien realm wouldn't welcome them again so easily. One night, as Patricia fine-tuned the final settings, she paused and looked at Daniel. "Are you ready for this?" she asked, her tone serious. "If we succeed, Emma won't be the same person she was before. Her experiences in that realm have changed her, And even if we manage to reunite her fragments, there's no guarantee she'll want to stay here. Daniel hesitated, considering her words. He didn't care about the risks or the potential consequences. All he cared about was bringing Emma back. I don't expect her to be exactly the same, he said finally, but I owe it to her to try. She deserves a chance to live again, even if it means letting go of who she used to be. Patricia nodded, understanding the depth of his resolve. All right then, she said. Let's prepare for the next step. Early the following morning, they descended into the underground chamber once more. The portal frame stood ready, its surface glowing faintly with anticipation. Patricia connected the alien device to the system, inputting the coordinates she had painstakingly calculated based on Emma's frequency. As the machine powered up, the air grew heavy with energy, and the symbols on the walls began to pulse rhythmically. This is it, Patricia announced, stepping back from the controls. Once we activate the portal, we won't have much time. We'll need to act quickly to locate Emma's fragments and merge them. Daniel took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. Let's do it. With a flick of a switch, the portal roared to life, its swirling vortex more vibrant than ever before. Colors danced wildly, casting an ethereal glow across the chamber. Without hesitation, Daniel and Patricia stepped through, emerging once again in the alien realm. The landscape was as breathtaking and unsettling as they remembered. The liquid-like ground shimmered beneath their feet, and the crystalline structures towered around them like silent sentinels. But this time, the atmosphere felt different. The presence of the Guardians loomed stronger, their dark forms lurking just beyond sight. Time was running out. Patricia activated the alien device, which emitted a soft hum as it scanned the environment. Almost immediately, the fragmented versions of Emma began to appear, drawn to the signal. Some looked confused, others sad, but all carried pieces of her soul. One by one, they approached Daniel and Patricia, their translucent forms flickering, faintly. It's working, Patricia whispered, her voice filled with awe. We're pulling them together. Daniel reached out to one of the fragments, a younger version of Emma smiling shyly as though meeting him for the first time. Tears welled up in his eyes as he touched her hand, feeling a spark of warmth, despite her intangible form. Emma, he murmured, his voice breaking. We're here to bring you home. The fragments began to converge, merging slowly into a single, cohesive figure. As they united, Emma's form solidified, becoming more real with each passing moment. Finally, standing before them was Emma herself, not exactly as she had been, but whole nonetheless. Her eyes glowed faintly with the same blue light as the alien device, a reminder of the transformation she had undergone. Daniel, she said softly, her voice carrying a mixture of joy and sorrow. You shouldn't have come back for me. I couldn't leave you behind, Daniel replied, stepping forward to embrace her. For a brief moment, it felt like everything was right again. But the peace was short-lived. The shadows around them stirred, coalescing into the menacing shapes of the Guardians. Their forms twisted unnaturally, exuding hostility. Clearly, they viewed the reunion as a violation of the realm's balance. We need to go, Patricia shouted, grabbing the device and activating the return sequence. The portal reappeared. Behind them, its swirling light beckoning them to safety. Emma hesitated, looking conflicted. I can't leave, she said, shaking her head. My place is here now, to act as a bridge between dimensions. If I return, the connection will break and the consequences could be catastrophic. Daniel's heart sank. No, he protested. You belong with me, with us. I'll always be with you, Emma assured him, placing a hand over his heart. But my purpose has changed. Trust me, Daniel. This is where I'm meant to be. Before he could argue further, the Guardians lunged toward them, forcing Patricia and Daniel to retreat through the portal. Emma stayed behind, her figure fading, as the gateway collapsed. Back in the observatory chamber, Daniel collapsed to his knees, overcome with grief once more. Though Emma was alive, in some form, she was still lost to him. Patricia placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. She made her choice, she said gently. And it wasn't an easy one. She sacrificed herself to protect us all. Though the pain of losing Emma lingered, Daniel found solace in knowing she was safe, and that her actions had saved countless lives. Together, he and Patricia vowed to honor her memory by continuing their research, ensuring that humanity never misused the alien technology again. In the end, Emma's legacy lived on, not just in the people she had touched, but in the fragile balance she maintained between worlds. And though Daniel couldn't see her anymore, he often felt her presence, guiding him silently through life's challenges. Life slowly returned to some semblance of normalcy after their journey through the alien realm, but nothing could truly erase the scars left behind. Daniel carried the weight of Emma's absence every day, though he tried to focus on the lessons she had taught him: love, sacrifice, and resilience. He visited her grave often, leaving fresh flowers and sitting quietly, as if waiting for her to speak to him again. Sometimes he swore he could feel her presence, a gentle warmth in the air or a faint whisper carried by the wind, but it was never enough to fill the void. Patricia, too, struggled to move forward. Her work had consumed her since they returned from the alien dimension. Driven by a mix of guilt and awe over what they had uncovered, she spent countless hours poring over data, studying the alien device and trying to understand the implications of Emma's choice. Though she knew they couldn't undo what had been done, she felt a responsibility to ensure that Emma's sacrifice wasn't in vain. Humanity had stumbled upon something far greater than itself, and it was up to them to handle it wisely or risk catastrophic consequences. One evening, as autumn leaves swirled outside her window, Patricia received an unexpected visitor. It was Dr. Laura Bennett, a former colleague who specialized in theoretical physics. Laura had heard rumors about Patricia's research and wanted answers. "You disappeared off the grid months ago," Laura said bluntly, sitting across from her at the kitchen table. "People are talking. They say you've been working on something extraordinary." Patricia hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. Trust didn't come easily to her anymore, not after everything that had happened. But Laura's curiosity seemed genuine, and Patricia realized she needed someone else to help shoulder the burden. So reluctantly, she began to explain. Over the next several hours, Patricia shared everything: the alien device, Emma's death, the portal, and their encounters in the otherworldly realm. Laura listened intently, her skepticism gradually giving way to fascination. "This changes everything," she murmured when Patricia finished. "If even half of what you're saying is true, we're dealing with technology that defies our understanding of reality." "That's why I need your help," Patricia admitted. "I can't do this alone. We have to figure out how to prevent anyone else from misusing this kind of power." Laura agreed to join forces, and together they expanded their efforts. They set up a secure lab in Patricia's home, using advanced encryption to protect their findings. Their goal was twofold. First, to decode the full capabilities of the alien device. Second, to develop safeguards against unauthorized access. It was painstaking work, requiring both creativity and caution, but they made steady progress. Meanwhile, Daniel found himself drawn back to the observatory. Something about the place called to him, reminding him of Emma and the sacrifices she had made. On one visit, he discovered something strange: an old journal hidden in a dusty corner of the underground chamber. Its pages were filled with notes written by Emma herself, detailing her involvement in the secret experiments conducted there. Reading her words, Daniel felt closer to her than ever before. She hadn't just been a victim. She had been brave, intelligent, and selfless until the very end. The journal also contained warnings, cryptic messages about the dangers of tampering with alien technology without fully understanding its purpose. Emma had known the risks long before anyone else did, and yet she had chosen to act anyway. Her courage inspired Daniel to take action. He decided to share the journal with Patricia, believing it might hold valuable insights into their ongoing research. When Patricia read the journal, her eyes widened with realization. "She understood more than we gave her credit for," Patricia said, flipping through the pages. These notes confirm what we've suspected all along, that the aliens weren't just experimenting on humans, they were testing us, seeing if we were ready to handle their level of advancement. But are we ready? Daniel asked, his voice heavy with doubt. Look at everything that's happened because of this thing. Patricia sighed, closing the journal. No, we're not. Not yet. But maybe Emma's role as a bridge between dimensions will give us time to prepare, to learn and grow before we're faced with another test. As winter approached, the trio, Daniel, Patricia, and Laura, continued their work, each driven by a different motivation. For Daniel, it was a way to honor Emma's memory. For Patricia, it was a chance to redeem herself for not preventing the tragedy. And for Laura, it was the opportunity of a lifetime to uncover truths that could reshape humanity's future. Their breakthrough came unexpectedly one snowy afternoon. While analyzing the alien device, Laura noticed a pattern in its energy fluctuations, a sequence that matched certain frequencies found in human brainwaves. What if this isn't just a tool for storing memories? She suggested excitedly. What if it's designed to enhance consciousness, to allow humans to perceive dimensions beyond our own? The idea was revolutionary and terrifying. If they could harness this capability responsibly, it could open doors to unimaginable discoveries. But if misused, it could unravel the fabric of reality itself. They debated long into the night, weighing the pros and cons of pursuing such knowledge. At the end, they agreed on a compromise. Instead of attempting to replicate the device's functions, they would focus on creating a fail-safe mechanism, a way to disable any similar technology if it fell into the wrong hands. It was a small step, but it gave them hope that they could prevent others from making the same mistakes. As the project neared completion, Daniel felt a sense of peace settling over him. He still missed Emma desperately, but he knew she would be proud of what they had accomplished. Together, they had turned her sacrifice into something meaningful, a legacy of protection and wisdom. On the anniversary of Emma's passing, Daniel visited her grave once more. This time he brought Patricia and Laura with him, introducing them to the woman who had changed their lives forever. Standing there under the pale moonlight, they shared stories about Emma, her kindness, her strength, and her unwavering determination to do what was right. She may not be here physically, Patricia said softly, but she's still guiding us. Every decision we make, every step we take, it's because of her. Daniel nodded, feeling a lump rise in his throat. Thank you, Emma, he whispered, placing a single flower atop her gravestone. As he stepped back, a faint glow emanated from the ground beneath the marker, almost imperceptible but undeniably present. It lingered for a moment before fading away, leaving behind only silence. For the first time in months, Daniel smiled. He didn't know whether the glow was real or imagined, and it didn't matter. What mattered was that Emma's spirit lived on, not just in their hearts, but in the world she had helped shape. Months had passed since Daniel, Patricia, and Laura completed their project, a fail-safe mechanism designed to neutralize any unauthorized use of alien technology. It wasn't the grand solution they had once dreamed of, but it was enough to give them peace of mind. Humanity wasn't ready to wield such power, and perhaps it never would be. But thanks to Emma's sacrifice and their hard work, the world was safer for now. Daniel found himself adjusting to life without the constant weight of grief pressing down on him. He still thought about Emma every day, but the sharp edges of his pain had softened over time. Instead of focusing solely on what he had lost, he began to appreciate what she had given him: strength, purpose, and a deeper understanding of love. Her memory became a source of comfort rather than sorrow. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Daniel invited Patricia and Laura over to his home. They gathered in the living room, sharing stories and reflecting on everything they had been through together. For the first time in a long while, laughter filled the air instead of tension. Patricia brought up the topic of the alien device, which now sat quietly on the coffee table, its glow extinguished. "We did our best with it," she said, her voice tinged with both pride and regret. But I think it's time we let go of it. For good. Daniel nodded in agreement. Emma wouldn't want us obsessing over it forever, he said. She gave us a second chance, and that's what we need to focus on, moving forward. Laura added, maybe someday we'll understand more about where it came from and why it chose Emma. Until then, we've done everything we can to honor her legacy. They decided to store the device in a secure location, far from prying eyes. Patricia volunteered to oversee its containment, ensuring that no one could tamper with it. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was the best they could do under the circumstances. As the night wore on, the conversation shifted to lighter topics. Patricia shared anecdotes from her years as a scientist, while Laura recounted amusing stories from her academic career. Daniel listened intently, grateful for their friendship. He realized how much they had all grown during this journey, not just intellectually but emotionally as well. Eventually, the group fell silent, each lost in their own thoughts. Daniel picked up the framed photograph of Emma that always rested on his coffee table. Her smile was radiant, capturing the essence of who she was, kind, brave, and full of life. I miss you, he whispered softly, running his fingers over the glass. But I know you're still with me, in my heart, in my choices, in everything I do. Patricia noticed the tender moment and smiled gently. She'd be proud of you, Daniel, she said. You've come so far since that night at the hospital. You've turned her loss into something meaningful. I couldn't have done it without you two, Daniel replied, looking at both women. You helped me find my way back when I thought I was lost forever. The bond between them had grown stronger than any of them could have imagined. What started as a desperate quest for answers had transformed into a lifelong friendship, built on trust, respect, and shared experiences. A few days later, Daniel returned to the observatory one last time. He wanted to say goodbye, not just to Emma, but to the place where everything had begun. Standing in the underground chamber, he took a moment to reflect on the journey they had taken. The portal frame stood silent and dormant, its surface cold to the touch. It felt strange knowing it would never hum with energy again. He placed a small bouquet of wildflowers near the base of the frame, a gesture of gratitude toward Emma and Alex. Though neither of them were physically present, their sacrifices had shaped the course of his life in ways he could never fully repay. Thank you, he murmured aloud, his voice echoing softly in the empty space. For everything. As he climbed the stairs and stepped outside, the crisp autumn air greeted him like an old friend. The forest surrounding the observatory was alive with color, its leaves painted in shades of orange, red, and gold. Daniel paused for a moment, taking it all in. Life moved forward, even after the hardest losses. And though Emma was gone, her impact remained, a guiding force that would stay with him forever. Back at home, Daniel began making changes to his routine. He reconnected with old friends, joined a local volunteer group, and even started learning photography, a hobby Emma had always encouraged him to try. Each step felt like a tribute to her memory, a way of keeping her spirit alive in his daily life. Patricia continued her research, though she approached it with renewed caution. She published several papers on the ethical implications of advanced technology, urging scientists worldwide to prioritize safety and responsibility above all else. Her work gained recognition, earning her invitations to speak at conferences and collaborate with other experts in the field. Yet, despite her success, she never forgot the lessons she had learned from Emma and Daniel. Some things were more important than knowledge, like compassion, humility, and the courage to make difficult choices. Laura, too, found fulfillment in their shared mission. She dedicated herself to teaching the next generation of physicists, instilling in them a sense of wonder and responsibility. Her lectures often included references to the mysteries of the universe, reminding her students that humanity's greatest discoveries came not from arrogance, but from curiosity tempered by wisdom. Years passed, and the story of Emma Carter became legend among those who knew her, or heard about her through others. People spoke of her bravery, her selflessness, and the profound impact she had made on the world. To Daniel, however, she would always remain simply Emma, the woman who had changed his life forever. On quiet evenings, Daniel sometimes caught glimpses of her in his dreams. She appeared as vividly as she had in life, smiling warmly and speaking words of encouragement. "Keep going," she would say. "You're stronger than you think." And so, Daniel kept moving forward, carrying Emma's memory with him, wherever he went. Though she was no longer by his side, her presence lingered, in the laughter of friends, in the beauty of nature, and in the countless moments of joy and resilience that defined his life. In the end, Emma's legacy wasn't just about the sacrifices she had made or the mysteries she had unlocked. It was about the ripple effect of her actions, the lives she touched, the love she inspired, and the hope she left behind. Even in death, she continued to guide those she cared about, proving that true connections transcended the boundaries of time and space. As Daniel stood on a hilltop one spring morning, watching the sunrise paint the sky in brilliant hues, he felt a sense of peace wash over him. The road ahead was uncertain, but he wasn't afraid. Emma had taught him that life was unpredictable and beautiful precisely because of it. "Thank you," he whispered again, this time to the wind. Somewhere, somehow, he knew she heard him.